Hi, and welcome to Ancedotal Leaks, the Zoo School Logs. Please pull up a chair. I have a fire going to keep us warm. It's a chilly night tonight. We're going to have a reading on the IO Classroom / Scheduler / OS Report logs, so you can have the viewer an understanding of what was happening, what was the classroom temperature like, and the climate of the school from teachers' point of views and the students' point of views. The misbehavior that the students and disrespect that was coming from the students were coming from and stemming from a place of not knowing the young teachers, not respecting the new teachers, and the constant turnaround of teachers in and out of the classroom and in and out of the school and staff in and out of the school due to the tenure of and inexperience of Astrid, Jacobo, and Daniel Pichardo. So if you're familiar with the format of this YouTube channel, every other episode is going to have readings from the logs from IO Classroom and Skedula or ORS, followed by an episode focusing on one content that I mentioned on episode 1 with empirical verification, facts that could be found easily with direction. So please, when you hear me reading these logs, I am not trying to put the teacher or the student in a negative light. The light that should be shined on, the lens should be on the focus on what was happening in this school for the year and a half that had these students act out. Okay, let's begin. Ancedotal log 1795-7X. I was sitting in room 403 during 6th period with Mr. Anderson when student X walked into the classroom uninvited and told us he was going to kill us both. Furthermore, he said, "Who am I going to kill first?" He then grabbed the empty bottle out of the garbage can and threw it across the room, then quickly stormed out. Anecdotal log 17501X. Either student A or student B of these boys drew a mark at the sub. The sub was for Mr. Myers. Mr. Myers is a great living environment teacher. Once they close wildlife down, you, New York City DOE, should scoop him up real quick. Stuyvesant, Bronx Science, is amazing. Hitting the sub in the head with the marker. Student next then called the sub a D-I-C-K sucker, and a few minutes later stated that he will punch him in the face. As I'm typing this, one of the boys just drew another marker. Pause. I'm going to finish reading the log. So as he's typing, so let me get this straight. There was a sub in the room and a teacher recording the events, but the teacher made no action to stop what was going on. That speaks to the frustration that the teachers were having with the behavior issues and the administration not acting upon the reports. And you're going to see that constantly appearing in all these IO Classroom anecdotal logs. The sub called for Johnny to come in and he told him that he thought it was student A. Student A stormed out of the room nearly attacking the sub. Johnny grabbed him. When this happened, student X yelled out, "It was not him who threw the mark at the sub." Student A is now in the hallway with Johnny, and student X and B are continuing to threaten the sub. Student A comes back into the room. He's now looking at the sub, yelling, "Now I'm going to throw at you." Insert N-word. "What are you looking at?" Insert N-word. Student X has a marker in his hand and is ready to throw it. I tried having a discussion with student X and A and B, and their response was that it doesn't matter because we're not going to get in trouble. So here, stop, pause. Here we still have, the students even know they're not going to get in trouble. Because the culture's been cultivated at Urban Assembly Wildlife and across the New York City DOE, where the students are unofficially suspended. What that means is they're just requested by the deans to go home. They're not going to write the report up. Let's go back to the last sentence of the log. He feels that he's in the right for coming after the teacher because he thought it was the teacher because the teacher thought it was him who drew the marker. This is the last anecdotal log for the night. Anecdotal log 17303X. Today's student X behavior has warranted further mediation and possible suspension for threatening physical violence. This is not the first time he has threatened me with physical violence. On a normal day, student X is very disrespectful towards the teachers in the room. Here we have more than one teacher. Today, when addressing another student, student X began taunting me and calling me an effing, female private part. Male private part. And an a-hole. I was helping another student and had said nothing to the entire class at this point. In my opinion, he was just looking for a fight. I never addressed him, but was working with a student within his proximity. I removed myself from the area to calm the situation down. I did not address his behavior. Mr. Rudolph walked over to talk to him. Mr. Rudolph is another great teacher. Guys, scoop him up. He'll give you good data, good results on the social studies regions, and make students pass. I'm sorry, let's get back to the log. Mr. Rudolph walked over to talk to him, but his comments continued, and he began to threaten me. We had to call for assistance, and he continued to threaten me in front of the assistants. After attempting multiple times to call his mother, I am requesting further assistance, addressing his disrespect towards me and the other teachers in this room. Student X came back into the room, looked throughout the whole classroom, and then punched the door hard and walked away. At this point, I'd done my very best to avoid any confrontation with the student. I am fully convinced without administrative support, this student will follow through with his threats. I have never done anything to the student to warrant these threats. End of the log. This was never addressed by any of the administrators. I'm going to go as far to say even the dean at the time of this log. I don't know. Tomorrow's episode, we'll go back to one of the contents that we were talking about. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed these 4 readings. The next readings will be Tuesday night. And then we're going to have a special reading for Thanksgiving night. Happy Thanksgiving, enjoy the holidays, and stay warm.